I'll tell you a secret, as long as nobody's going to listen to this. The last time we were at this hotel, we ran them out of alcohol.
Hey everybody, the Laying It Down for Camp Bucko fundraiser is still going on. The donations have slowed down, but the hoses have not. This sea can is starting to get filled up. These are the ones I just unloaded from the trailer. Those are the ones that were sitting here since last year. These are all still sitting here from last year. We're looking to get donations rolling in. In addition to those hoses that I just showed you, I still have a picture that I'm going to insert right here of all the fire hoses that are still up in Pickering, Ontario. Thank you to the Toronto Social Housing for donating 95% of these fire hoses, as well as everybody else from Southwestern Ontario and Ontario for donating hoses. Well, let's get those donations to roll in. The link is posted below. 20 bucks a hose. Let's get some money in. Let's support Camp Bucko. Thanks, guys. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast. We are live on location, Orlando, Florida, AFSA42. My first AFSA event that I've ever been to. I'm sitting down with El Presidente, Bob Caputo. Bob, how's it going?
I can't complain, man. It's a great venue, a lot of good people.
Yeah, you're in a place like this, nobody's going to listen to you if you start complaining, right?
And we got really lucky because there was a hurricane in Florida last week.
Okay.
Another one that looks like it's looming for next week, but we're just right there in the middle.
Right in the sweet
God
spot.
loves us in here in Fire Sprinkler world.
Absolutely. So, again, like I said earlier, my first AFSA event, and it's been a banger.
Yeah.
You guys put on an excellent show.
Thank you.
A great big exhibition hall, which I definitely did not peek in and take a look at beforehand, but looks absolutely massive, which is phenomenal in the industry. How has attendance been?
So we have a record attendance this year. Registrations were exceeding even our Las Vegas event last year, which was a record event.
Yeah.
All of our seminars, been literally wall to wall. Yesterday,
they're all jam-packed, and I've been popping in and getting footage of all the educational seminars, and they've all just been jam-packed. It's been awesome.
We had an Ask the Experts panel yesterday with James Gullenvo and Matt Klaus and Russ Levitt and Jeff Habenstreet from UL. And I mean, this was one of the larger rooms, and we literally had to bring in more chairs. People were standing. You couldn't fit another person in there without the fire marshal coming in and telling us, to clear out. It was just a great 90-minute session. All of our tech sessions have been great. We had an opening party over at Universal Studios, and we planned for 500 people. There were 638.
That opening reception, I did go to that. That was, my wife's not listening at this point now. That was the reason I flew in on Wednesday to go to that. I wanted to go beginning to end the entire event and kind of see how AFSA throws the events in. And that City Walk event was phenomenal. The people on the stilts were ridiculous. I don't know how they do that day in, day out. But just the entire event was was it shutting down that section, or was it just extending the hours?
Well, so when we do something like that at a venue like a Universal Studios, we have to buy out that part. Yeah. And then, of course, when we went over the Hogwarts for the magic piece, we had to wait for the park to close and clear that out. And then we had exclusive access to that piece as well.
Yeah.
With our approach with our annual convention is focused predominantly on education, mixed with a heck of a lot of fun. We really do want families. Our industry is family oriented. Most people get into this thing for some nepotistic reason, an uncle, an aunt, or father, whomever. Yeah. And so we want to make sure that we are family oriented, not just an event, but an organization. Right. And it shows in the way we plan our conventions and our expos. So far, we're only at day 2. We're day 2 of, I'm sure it's not day 2 for you. That was kind of a silly thing to say to the guy who's running the show. But, day 2 of the actual event so far, and kind of what are your main takeaways? What kind of feedback are you getting from the attendees? So, it is our day 2, but we actually, with the Florida chapter usually hosts an annual, we'll call it a mini trade show, and they do their own apprenticeship competition. Mm-hmm. So this year they agreed to kind of meld in with us, and they needed more credit hours for Florida attendees than we could provide through the normal couple of days of programs. So we actually started a day earlier with Florida-only seminars, and I was fortunate enough to be invited to teach a couple of those. The Florida chapter and the Florida members, well, first of all, Florida and California are the two states where we have the most number of members, big states. The Florida chapter has been very, very helpful in making this thing successful by more participation, as well as normal participation. But every person that's come up to me has said, how in the world will you make this better next year? It's almost impossible. This is so cool.
Yeah.
Better than it was last year, better than it was the year before, which frankly, when we were in San Antonio, I thought that was the best convention I'd ever been to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how we'll up it next year in Denver, but we'll figure it out.
You can raise the bar by going to Denver.
Well, that's where we'll be, at the Gaylord out by the new I shouldn't say new airport because it's not that new anymore, but for me it is.
It was new at some point for
Yes,
you.
it was. Yeah.
What other kind of things do we have? Like I said, it is day 2. It's Friday, so there's still another 2 days. It's 9:30 in the morning. What does the rest of the event kind of hold for you?
Well, this afternoon is our general session.
Yep.
And our awarding of the Parmalee Award to Professor Milkey from Maryland, from the University of Maryland. We also have our Advocate of the Year Award, which is Todd Short from up in Oregon.
Okay.
Todd's a great guy and has been doing great things to promote residential sprinkler and fire protection in the living environment there. So that's a pretty cool event, and that will follow by the opening of the exhibit hall, which we have a record number of exhibitors. And as you can see behind me, we've actually put a few booths out in the corridor.
A little bit of overflow.
Not only that, we have 6 people on the waiting list who wanted booths and couldn't get them. So we're bursting at the seams just a little bit.
Yeah.
So be a reception in the expo tonight, and the important part is the kickoff of the apprenticeship competition, which this year we've put that in the center instead of at one end of our exhibit hall. So that's something we're doing that's a little new. Tomorrow evening will be our awards party. Announce the winners of the apprenticeship competition, and have some great food and some music, and another great party to head us out until next year.
After party.
You know, I don't want it to sound like it's just party time, because it isn't. I mean, we really are. We have 65 or 70 educational events, CEU events.
Yeah.
We've got a room full of AHJs with a free plan review session.
Let's not call it a party then. Let's call it a networking session.
It is really more networking than anything else. But you know, with us, I'll tell you a secret. As long as nobody's going to listen to this. The last time we were at this hotel, we ran them out of alcohol. This hotel ran out of alcohol.
Really?
NFSA was here.
A bunch of sprinkler?
Who would think? Who would think?
That doesn't sound
NFSA was here. Management of the hotel that year told us, between NFSA and AFSA, we've never had consumed more alcohol. And we were like, sprinkler people? Just like you just said.
I don't understand. Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
I like to have fun, work hard all day, which I've been seeing throughout every session. But absolutely, I will say that the networking sessions that kind of occurred even last night down in the lobby, anybody that was not here for the event that had to register last night, I feel bad. There's no way they heard what room number they were in when they were logging in last night.
Oh no.
Yeah. So usually I start the things off by getting a little bit of a history, but you've been a guy that's, I'll call it my hit list, for a long time, wanting to have a conversation with. You've been involved in this industry. You know, I'm kind of short in the media side of fire sprinklers, but your name has constantly come up on guys to talk to. So tell me a little bit about your history in this industry.
So I guess I'm in my 45th year of working in this industry.
You must have started when you were 2.
I definitely did. I started prior to that. Actually, when I started, there were still dinosaurs walking the planet.
You had to cut threads with your teeth back then?
Yeah, and the cutting oil tasted horrible, but the pipe dope was tastier.
Well, yeah.
So I started in the shop, got into the field. I actually started in fire protection. I was a volunteer firefighter. When I went in the Navy, I had an injury, and as a result, they put me in a limited duty status, and I ended up doing some fire sprinkler work, shipboard fire sprinkler work, as a limited duty function. And frankly, I had intended to go to law school after the military, and the fire protection industry kind of grabbed a hold of me. I had gotten married and had an instant family at the time, and I had job opportunities in the fire and life safety world, and just started down that path and never looked back.
So from when you joined the Navy and got into sprinklers kind of through the Navy?
That's kind of where it started.
Yeah. What kind of led you to being the president of the AFSA?
Wow. Well, they set the bar really low.
Come on.
I was a sprinkler contractor in the San Diego area, and I had sold the company to Costco Fire Protection, a union company. I took a year off, mostly surfing, diving, riding my motorcycle, and wasting time.
Yeah, sounds terrible.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah.
Then Jack Medovich reached out to me and asked if I would join what was then East Coast Fire Protection and help them start a service division. Mm-hmm. And I did that. The company changed its name to Fire and Life Safety America. They're now merged in or owned and called Summit Fire and Life Safety. And so they are literally nationwide. And what started out as a couple of, probably when I joined them, they might have been around $50 million a year. Now I think they're probably closer to $1 billion at Summit. So pretty exciting changes. But I'd left Fire and Life Safety America for a couple of years, went back to work at Telgen with Russ Levitt, who is, by the way, if you haven't interviewed Russ Levitt, that's a guy you got to
either. Yeah,
you got to get. Russ, it's amazing. He and I have been teaching partners forever, and he's just a great guy. So I went back to Fire and Life Safety America after a couple of years, helping Telgen get things moving a little better, process and procedure-wise. So I was their VP of training. During that time, AFSA had a president that didn't work out. Mm-hmm. And I'd thrown my hat in the ring because Russ encouraged me to do so. Russ thought it would be a good fit for me, and I threw my hat in the ring, and I wasn't picked. And they went through another president who things didn't really meld as well. I'm not sure if it was Jack. Well, pretty sure it was Jack. But Jack called me one day and said, "Hey, are you still interested in the AFSA position?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm interested, but I'm not going to get my hopes up."
Right.
But basically, they went from saying, "Hey, it isn't working out to find an association person. Maybe we should find an industry person." This is a pretty specific specialty industry, and I think we all know that. And so I was the first industry person they'd selected. I think they interviewed 3 or 4 different people, and like I say, they set the bar pretty low, picked me. It's been 3 years of, it's probably the best job I've ever had. I love this industry. I love this association. I love what we do. We've bolstered our tech services group. We've got an amazing group of folks across the board on staff, whether it's the technical services department or the administrative folks and the support staff. But at the end of the day, we offer amazing training programs, both apprenticeship inspectors for ITM, design school, intermediate design school. We're just really focused on being a training organization and operation. That's what we do best, and that's where we focus our time and attention.
I've noticed a lot of people, like you say, you're focusing a lot on education and training, and it's very prevalent out there with all the people that are attending. The networking events have been phenomenal, but for the limited amount of times that I've been popping into the educational seminars, it's just, like you say, wall to wall. There hasn't been one with many open seats available. So that's really good to see. I appreciate and thank you for everything that you've done with this industry, getting all these associations and the industry to the level that it's at now. Volunteer firefighter myself actually right now as well.
Cool.
I noticed the pin there. We did the.
Well, I teach at the National Fire Academy as well as for NFPA still, and for us, of course. Education's part of, it's in my blood. I love, as a firefighter, as you can probably name the people whose lives you saved. Mm-hmm. But here in Fire and Life Safety and Fire Protection and Fire Sprinklers, we've saved thousands of lives of people we're never going to meet, never going to know the names of.
So one of the first things I do, and I mean, as kind of seems weird to say it now, but as young in the industry I am as a designer, I've had 3 of the buildings that I've designed had fires where the sprinkler isolated and extinguished the fire. So, not only was I, walking around, you could have punched my mom in the face and I would have smiled at you and shake your hand that day. Maybe not the next day, but the first thing I do anytime we have an incident like that is I call every single guy in the company. We're not a big company, like 20 people. Call every single one of them. The system that we put in today saved lives. Doesn't matter if you were actually on site or not. If you weren't on site, because you were on another site, allowed the people that put that pipe in to put the pipe in, and it worked. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. We had one situation. It was a wood construction building, retrofit in Ontario. They went 13R because they were trying to retrofit all care facilities.
Yeah.
So a fire started in a mechanical closet with a furnace where sidewall sprinkler was up at the top. Maintenance guy called us freaking out on a Friday afternoon, like, hey, you so-and-so, I won't say the words here, you told me a 1 in 16 million chance of these sprinklers accidentally discharging. Well, guess what? I won the lottery.
He didn't even know he had
baby.
a fire, did he?
I won the lottery, baby. The fire trucks are on their way. This is this is bull, this is that. You better get your here to get this fixed and get it cleaned up, because if not, I'm going to call my lawyer, blah, 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 all the stuff. So family business, I sent my brother over. Fire department met him at the front door. Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Furnace caught fire. Guy didn't know it, started running up the back wall. Sprinkler put it out. If it would have got into the attic space, you're talking about a mass casualty event.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Long-term care facility, nursing home, a lot of them mobile people.
There's a couple of interesting dynamics that guide my thinking about our industry and the benefits of fire sprinklers in the built environment in general. First of all, when you look at the cost of fire protection in a community, it falls on the taxpayer.
Yeah.
But if you install the systems, especially residential occupancies, if you install the systems, it falls on the cost to the developer. Fire departments have lesser and lesser budgets. Mm-hmm. Fire departments have fewer people, fewer stations.
Yes.
I'm fond of saying that when seconds count, first responders are minutes away. With fire sprinklers, we have lighter weight construction. We have more combustible furnishings that we bring into the buildings. And clearly, the three biggest causes of fires in any occupied space are men, women, and children.
Yeah.
The things that we do, whether it's smoking or unattended cooking or candles or this furnace situation.
Yep.
Fire sprinklers are the solution, and they're really the only economic and realistic solution to those situations. And I've had so many stories, and I knew where you were going, that they didn't know they had a fire.
Yep.
Right? I've had restaurant systems operate where if it wasn't for, the restaurateurs go, this thing operated for no reason and now we can't do lunch or we can't do dinner, we're losing revenue.
Yep.
But then when you look at the videotape, because there's cameras everywhere nowadays, right? And you see that there was actually a fire and they didn't even know they had a fire.
That's right.
Man, the things that we do, we have to assume there will be a fire. It's a question of when.
That's right.
And that's why inspection, testing, and maintenance is so critically important for all of our systems. But just having those systems, and in my lifetime, systems weren't always required. Now we're code-driven. Go to Central and South America or Europe or other places where they're not code-driven, where it's a choice or an insurance-driven issue. I mean, it just is amazing to me when I think about. It's so obvious that fixed fire suppression systems, fire sprinkler systems, and other types of systems are the solution to being protected in the built environment. And we're still fighting with home builders to get sprinklers in homes. That just drives me crazy.
It's crazy the amount of work that the people in sales actually have to do to educate people how absolutely necessary this small little piece of brass is to fire protection.
So the Home Fire Sprinkler Coalition that we're a big contributor to, so is NFPA and NFSA. Yep. They've got some great stuff on YouTube and great website for resources for municipalities to take a real look at. At some point in time, the Home Builders Association, I think some of the bigger builders are coming around to the reality. They are starting to get on board.
They're trying to push it as a sales position. This is a house that can save your life.
And I think the more we educate the general public, the more people will want to live in. And think about seatbelts. When I was a kid, people didn't automatically put seatbelts on. Nowadays, it's it's just something you do. I mean,
Yeah.
very few people don't put on a seatbelt.
And when you look at the numbers from a statistical standpoint, your chance of surviving a car accident increases by about 55 to 60% if you're wearing a seatbelt.
Right. Your chances
chance
of
surviving
living through a house fire with sprinklers, wow, it's
85% is the average?
yeah, I think it's 85 or 90. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty much it's up there.
Yeah.
It's the solution.
And one of them's law, and one of them isn't.
Right. California is way ahead of the curve. California and Maryland currently are the only two states that require sprinklers in every home that's built.
Yeah.
I hope that by the time my time does actually pass, that we're 25, 30 states.
Yeah. Well, you got your work cut out for you. You
Yes.
don't see any end in the near future. Bob, thanks for allowing me to stick my camera in and around.
Appreciate
this
the
event.
opportunity.
This is awesome.
I'm glad you think I was worthy of an interview. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anybody wants more information, where do they go?
Well, you can go to firesprinkler.org to the AFSA website. It's pretty easy to find me. My cell phone's on all my business cards. My email address is bcaputo@firesprinkler.org. If you're not a member, by the way, AHJs can be a member of AFSA for no charge, no cost. They have full access to our tech services department.
Yep.
Full access. We serve on 56 or so NFPA committees.
Busy.
We're a pretty helpful group of folks. We usually answer most technical questions in less than a day.
Yep.
But as far as fire sprinkler contractors, we have a lot of contractor members that have signatory labor, and most of them of our group doesn't. We are focused predominantly on open shop fire sprinkler contractors training programs, but we have a lot of training programs that benefit any sprinkler contractor.
Yeah, at that point, when you're looking at training, I don't really think that comes into play. The courses here, I'm not seeing any sort of biased information.
No, we're not.
In
fact, I'm going to just say for the record that we work with the folks over at NFSA as often as we can on code-related issues. When we go to the NFPA committees, we're not fighting with each other. We're communicating with each other and doing what's best for our industry.
Yep.
We have common interests, and we focus where we can on those. We have areas where we can't work together, and clearly that's the labor thing.
Yep.
And really, that's the biggest differentiator. My counterpart, Shane Ray's, really, really bright guy and very, very active. And he has a political knowledge base and a legislative knowledge base that I just don't have the experience in. And so they're very, very good at that.
Two former firefighters at the top of the two organizations in America as well.
Yeah, well, that's cool. We're in the fire protection industry.
That's right. Awesome.
Thank you
Bob,
again.
Thanks again.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Hey everybody, I wanted to take a second to thank everybody for supporting the Fire Sprinkler podcast over the past 5 years. This has been an absolute ride to be able to travel the amount that I've traveled, to talk to the people that I've talked to be able to get the information in this industry out there and essentially help create a new wave of content for fire protection. So just a huge thank you to everybody for supporting. I hope you're still enjoying it. Anybody who's still listening, thank you.